RWBY, Volume 5, Episode 9, A Perfect Storm. What happens? We begin with Raven sharpening her sword until Vernal alerts her to some visitors. The group then stands basically still for 8 minutes as they establish Vernal as the Spring Maiden, wink wonk, and that Raven will assist with the attack on Haven at the insistence of killing Crow. We then jump over to Menagerie where Gira is fighting the White Fang. Sun and Blake slowly join the fray, they all discuss their plan for a bit, and Blake runs off. Back at the bandit camp where Raven tells us she plans on taking the relic for herself. Raven portals away to Haven, Oscar begins a conversation that doesn't end up happening in this episode, and Blake runs around her house a little before bumping into Ilya to end the episode. What happened to all the color in the camp? Why is everything gray? Is it supposed to look grim and moody? Cause it just looks unfinished like this. I'm so glad we didn't get to see Emerald and the others fight the bandits into submission. It's way more fun just knowing a fight happened without getting to see it. It's always such a bore when we get to see the characters use their cool, unique weapons, fighting styles, and semblances in action. Why can't the whole show just be people talking slowly? Why tease a fight that we don't get to see? Action sequences are one of the main selling points for the show. You know, because it's an action anime. Why did the writers insist on having as few fights as they could for the volume? If I wanted to watch these characters just stand around and talk without fighting each other, I'd subject myself to RWBY chibi. Gotta make sure you introduce all the characters the audience has known for years now. I get that this one-by-one introduction is set up for Raven's sick burn, but did it really have to be done so slowly? Not to mention Raven's comeback is kinda lacking. Anna Hullum's performance is so uncertain that she botches the timing for her witty delivery. I don't like insinuating people getting roles because of their clout within the company, but knowing Anna is the CEO's wife and listening to her performances here makes it hard to assume otherwise. However, something behind the scenes has also taken a toll on Barbara's performance for the volume, so she may actually be able to give a better performance under different circumstances. As it is though, Raven's performances all sound the same. Unconfident and over-enunciated.
Aren't you perceptive? It's what's kept me alive.
Not really. Everything pertaining to Emerald, Mercury, and Cinder are all blatantly clear. Watts' attire looks rather Athlesian, so it's not unreasonable assumptions Raven's made here. Though how she figured out Watts' occupation is questionable, but I'll just assume she worked with his smart, evil British voice and just guessed scientist. What? Vernal is a Spring Maiden? I never would have guessed with her being opposite Cinder in the opening. The Maiden bait and switch is actually really well done, and is the thing I praise most about this volume. I love that Vernal insists on closing her eyes to hide the fact that they don't glow, and I love that Raven wears her mask to hide that hers does. I may be crazy, but I'm pretty sure a maiden, a fake maiden, and a tribe of bandits should be able to handle 2 teens, a businessman, and a girl with 1 eye, 1 protected arm, and 4-inch heels. But whatever, keep acting like we should be scared of Cinder. She might snark me to death. Ooh!
You are in a poor position to negotiate.
No, she's actually in a very good condition to negotiate. Cinder and friends can't kill Vernal, that would mean losing the maiden again. They could capture her, but she still has to be the one to open the door. They can't make her do it. And even if they could, it wouldn't matter since they would have kidnapped the wrong person anyway. And on top of all that, if they killed Raven in their attempt to grab Vernal, they would actually lose the maiden. But that's pretty unlikely to happen since Raven could either fly away or portal out of there. Watts and the others can't do anything without Raven's cooperation. She has all the power in this negotiation, no matter how intimidating Cinder pretends to be. For being so important during this compromise, Crow's death sure isn't pursued later. Raven and him lock swords for a bit, but that's it. If you're going to use the assassination of your brother as leverage to getting what you want, you'd assume Raven would have put more effort into actually getting him killed. There were also a lot of comments saying Raven would never want Crow dead because Twiins would be too close for that. That's not how twins work. We're just siblings who look similar and share a birthday. That's it. You know what's fun? Telling the audience the villain's plans for the finale of the volume. Intrigue, you create that by filling your show with cliffhangers, not by keeping the villain's plans ambiguous. I wouldn't be surprised if the writers were figuring out how to have the volume end as they wrote this conversation. Forcing Cinder to spell it out to Watts gives the writers a good way to plan out how the finale is gonna go down, without considering how boring that is for the viewer.
So, are you with us? Or against us?
Just a nice, quiet assassination at the Belladonna mansion that literally nobody comes to investigate. You can tell Gira's a catfaunus, cause he's a giant PUSSY! One slow-ass fireball breaks this guy's aura, are you fucking kidding me? You know what would have helped? If he didn't remove all of his armor before this! The Albane brothers are so boring to watch fight. Why not actually use those daggers like blades rather than fancy wands? Weiss fires her dust like this. Ren like this. Nora like this. Yang like this. Why do these guys just point and slowly shoot an element from their knives? Honestly, even if the brothers did move when they fought, it probably still wouldn't look very good. Everyone moves real damn slow here. Sun's defense twirl looks especially dumb. Not only would this maneuver heat up his weapon and burn his fingers, but he's moving so slowly the fire would just go around his staff anyway. Whoever choreographed this altercation should look for a different line of work, because this is the most boring, slow, awkward fight I've seen from this show. When your trailers feature fights like this, but your show has shit like this, your viewers are going to get upset. Oh no, that's fine. Just have all your characters stand around and talk, rather than, I don't know, continue fighting? Why aren't the brothers trying to get out of their very breakable trap? Why aren't they trying to still fight? Why aren't Gira, Sun, and Blake taking advantage of this opportunity with the brothers stuck in place and their weapons inaccessible? This kind of lazy writing and directing is immersion-breaking and aggravating. It's one thing to have a mindless monster wait around for our heroes to finish talking. It's another when the culprit is a fully functioning person. It does not help that we cut to the brothers standing still, patiently waiting for Blake's ice sculpture to melt. It doesn't matter how frantic the characters sound, the viewers are still very aware that no one is trying to win this fight as long as the conversation is going on. And you know what makes it worse? We fucking cut away from the fight. When the audience has already sat through a boring conversation for most of the episode, and has waited a week to get back to this confrontation after it was teased to us in the previous episode, you should not deprive us of the fight that was built up so much. Actually let us see the fights you lead up to. Do not just cut away from them all, especially after building one up so much. But I think we all know just how bad this problem gets later.
Blake, go!
Raven insisting the tribe needs the relic is pretty hard to take seriously once you know how willingly she gives it up in the finale. Let's take a moment to talk about shot continuity. So, Raven portals to Haven. She flies in front of a building, and then we see Crow looking out of what appears to be that building's window as he hears a Raven outside. The way this is all done gives us the visual shorthand that Raven and Crow will be involved in something together. She portaled to him, he reacted to her bird call, which is why it's surprising that Raven actually came here to talk to Leo. Not surprising in a good way, mind you. Our expectations weren't intentionally fooled with, we were just given the wrong information. It's like when you're watching a movie and it keeps cutting between two cars going opposite directions of each other at increasing speed. It's visual shorthand to lead us to an inevitable crash. Now imagine if in this car scenario, if after cutting between them going opposite directions a couple of times, the following shot is the two of them pulling into the same location from the same direction. It doesn't make sense, right? We were told they were facing each other in the previous shots because of the way the film was cut together. That's what's happened here. This implication that Crow is aware of Raven's presence at Haven is completely ignored. The two don't talk to each other, he's not the one to notice her at the school, he barely focuses on her during the fight. This setup is for nothing. This is clearly just a cool transition they thought of without considering the implications of how they cut it together. The whole scene is really unnecessary anyway. Why tell us Ozpin needs to talk? Just start the next episode in the middle of their discussion, or introduce the topic then. There's no need to tell us some character's gonna have a chit-chat in a different episode. What is Ilya doing? It seems she expects Blake to show up, even though she entrusted Tweedledee and Tweedledum to kidnap her earlier. Why isn't Ilya trying to kill the Belladonnas? That's her current mission. This isn't a video game. You can't just have your bosses standing around in a final room waiting for the hero to show up. The audience will notice these kinds of character inconsistencies. Wait, shouldn't she think Blake is captured by her teammates? Why is she just standing around? I think this is a good time to bring up Nitpick Corner. These aren't super important points, but I still noticed them while I watched the episode. I miss Raven's absurdly long sword. This box would be in Raven's way if she came out of her tent from the side. Cinder's fire looks really badly photoshopped. How does Cinder know Vernal doesn't just have a weather semblance? How did the boys get so dusty? The way Cinder reacts so aggressively before Watts slides into frame makes this unbelievably weird. What was she looking at before he leans in? If the tribe should be getting ready to move, why hasn't Raven packed her ludicrously sturdy-looking bed? And why can't we see the bandits tearing down the tents outside? What is this room? Do the Belladonnas have a classroom in their mansion? And so, that's A Perfect Storm. This episode sucks, and it didn't have to. I like that the villain's conversation pushed the plot forward in a way the heroes never seem to be able to, but it's a shame it came at the cost of ruining the surprise of what's to come for the finale, while also taking most of the episode to do. This conversation is long, slow, boring, and drawn out, with an extra sting being that we never got to see the baddies fight the bandits like had been teased before. Once we finally do get to the fighting at Menagerie, it's embarrassingly slow and ultimately leaves a lot to be desired. The best way I can think of to discuss this episode is to compare it to Volume 3, Episode 6, Fall. Fall was mostly discussion. It pushed the plot forward, gave us important information and lore, and developed Pierre's character. The episode then ends with a rather short but exciting fight. It seems this episode could have done something similar, but it just flops during the execution. The discussion is dull and simply tells the audience what will happen without bringing the characters closer to their goal. Any fight that occurs is awkward or cut away from. All of this leads to a disappointing episode. The dull writing, shoddy performances, clunky action, and lack of progress turns this episode into the perfect storm of mediocrity.
King Dragon, show yourself! Yo. What? Yo, I'm King Dragon. I'm the king of the lair. And now that you're in here, you aren't going anywhere but down on the ground, cause I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm sorry I said ass, I don't mean to be crass. When I'm not busy killing like a villain, I write